Okay, so this is the 8th grade quarterly exam review sheet answer key video. So for the first question, it's asking which of the following relations is not a function. So remember, in order to be not a function, x value cannot have more than one y value. X value cannot have more than one y value. So with that being said, we're going to check all of the x's. In A, none of the x's repeat, so that's not our answer choice. B, none of the x's repeat. C, our x repeats. We have the 1 goes to 3 and 1 goes to 5. We can't have an x value go to two different y values, so C is our answer. And D, none of the x values repeat. Number 2, City A has a population of 4 times 10 to the 6th, and City B has a population of 2 times 10 to the 4th. How many times greater is City A when compared to City B? So we're using how many times greater? Is it using division? So we're going to divide City A by City B. So you're going to write 4 times 10 to the 6th divided by 2 times 10 to the 4th. When you type this right into your calculator, you can get 2 times 10 squared, which turns out to be, remember, in how many times greater, we need a standard notation answer. So that is 200 times greater. Number 3, they're just asking if the equations are linear or nonlinear. Remember, the variable cannot have an exponent larger than 1. So A equals s squared. That is nonlinear because the variable s has an exponent of 2. B, y equals 3x plus 10. That is a linear equation. That is a line, so that is linear. Here, C, y equals 5 squared plus x. 5 squared is a number, so this really is 25 plus x, which again is a linear equation. D, y equals 1/2 x. That is also a linear equation with the slope of 1/2 and a y-intercept of 0. Remember, we don't have to write the 0 if there's a y-intercept crossing through the origin, so that is linear as well. And here we have e, y equals 5 raised to the exponent of x. That is a nonlinear equation. Number 4, what is the solution to the system of equations below? So you can either use substitution or elimination to solve your equations algebraically. So we're going to use elimination. For elimination, you want one of the variables to have the same number but different signs. So we see that the y's already have 3 as the number. We just need to make one of them become a negative. So in order to do that, we multiply the whole second equation by -1. So this becomes negative 2x times negative 3y times negative 4. So we have this other equation in the top. We're just going to rewrite 4x plus 3y equals negative 10. So now we are going to add straight down. 4 plus a negative 2 is 2x. A positive 3y minus 3y, those cancel out because it equals 0. We bring down our equal sign, and a negative 10 plus a negative 4 is a negative 14. Divide by 2 on both sides, we get x equals negative 7. In order to solve for y, we take x equals 7 and we substitute that back into one of the equations. So we have 2x plus 3y equals 4. We substitute in negative 7 for x, rewrite the rest of the equation. So we have to do 2 times negative 7 is negative 14 plus 3y equals 4. We need to isolate the variable, so plus 14, we get 3y equals 18. Divide by 3 on both sides, y equals 6. So our solution to this system is -7, 6. Remember, the solution is always a coordinate point. Number 5. A company A charges a yearly fee of $100 plus $20 per month. Company B charges a yearly fee of $50 plus $25 per month. After how many months will the cost be the same? So when they want to know when something is the same, they want to know when they will be equal to each other. So we're going to set up the two expressions for each company. So we have A and B. So company A, we know a yearly fee is just a one-time fee plus $20 per month. So that's 20x. That equals company B has its yearly fee of 50 plus 25x. We want to get the variables together. So we bring the smaller to the larger, and we need to use inverse operations. So minus 20x minus 20x. You bring down 100 equals 50 plus 5x. Subtract 50 from both sides, and we get 50 equals 5x. Last step, to isolate the variable, we have to divide by 5 on both sides. So we get x equals 10 months. Number 6, find the slope and the y-intercept of a linear equation y equals 5x minus 40. Remember, the slope is always a number attached to x, and your y-intercept is always the number attached at the end. That's just a number. So your y-intercept is negative 40. Remember, your slope is the variable m, and your y-intercept is the variable b. So m equals 5, and b equals negative 40. You need to always include the number and its sign in front of that number. 7, which set of coordinate pairs x, y could represent a linear function of x? So again, we're just checking to make sure that none of the x's repeat. For this question, we have a is negative 2, 0, 2, and 4. So that one is a linear function because none of the x's repeat. B, 1, 1, 1, and 1 in our x values. So that's repeating ones, not a linear function. C, we have negative 2, 0, 2, and 4. None of our x's repeat. And D, we have 3, 4, 3, and 5. So right now we're between A and C. So and also to be linear, we have to have a constant slope. So we need to make sure that the change is the same. So when you add 2 to the x, you add 4 to the y. So when you add 2 to the x, you add 4 to the y. When you add 2, you add 1 to the y. And when you add 2 to the x, you subtract 1 from the y. Therefore, as the x adds 2, your y is either adding or subtracting by a different amount, so that makes it not constant. So A is not your answer. Let's just check C to make sure. When we add 2 for the x, you add 5 for the y. Again, you add 2 to the x, you add 5 to the y. And last, when you add 2 to the x, you add 5 to the y. So your rate of change, your constant slope, is as you add 2 for the x values, you add 5 for the y values, so C is your answer. Number 8. On a coordinate plane, vertex A for triangle ABC is located at 8, 6. Triangle ABC is dilated by a factor of 5, with the center of dilation at the origin. The resulting image is triangle A prime, B prime, C prime. What are the coordinates of vertex A prime? So remember, if it's being dilated, dilating is multiplication. So we are going to multiply the x and the y value by 5. So 8 times 5 is 40, and 6 times 5 is 30. So our new vertex A prime is 40, 30. Number 9, which best models the data below? So here, this is a scatter plot. So remember, in order to draw your line of best fit, you want to try and draw it as close as possible to going through the middle of the data. So we see that our y-intercept is about 0. So therefore, we're going to cross out answers A and C because they have a y-intercept of 25. Then we're between a negative and positive 5 as our slope. This graph is going up from left to right, so that is a positive slope. So that is answer choice B, y equals 5x. Number 10, write the equation that models the graph below. So in order to write an equation, we have y equals mx plus b. We need our slope and our y-intercept. The first thing I'm going to check for is the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where the y-axis crosses the line. So it intersects here at 0, so my y-intercept is 0. Now I need to find the slope. To find the slope, I'm going to connect two perfect points. So I'm going to use the 0, and I'm going to connect it to this point here at 2, 30. So I count my jumps. You have to be careful with your intervals because each jump is counting by 10. So I have 10, 20, 30. My rise is 30. My run, each box counts by 1, so my run is 2. It's a positive slope because it's going up from left to right. So my slope is 30 divided by 2, which is 15. So when I substitute it into my equation, I just get y equals 15x. Number 11, triangle ABC is rotated 90 degrees and then dilated by a factor of 10. The resulting image is what? Remember, whenever you're dilating any image by a factor larger than 1 or smaller than 1, it is changing the size of it. So therefore, those figures are similar. They are not congruent. So will they have an area 10 times the original? No, that is false. The area does not change by the amount that the scale factor is. The area will change, but by some other amounts. Will they have the same perimeter? No, that's false because the figure is getting larger, so they can't have the same perimeter. And C, will they have corresponding angles that are congruent? Yes. No matter what you do to the size of it, if you dilate it something smaller or dilate it to something larger, the angles will always be congruent. Those will never change. 12. At a soccer game, all tickets are sold the same price and also souvenirs are at the same price. Mr. G bought 4 tickets and 1 souvenir for a total of $21.50. Miss B bought 6 tickets and 2 souvenirs for a total of $33. How much was each ticket and each souvenir? So this is for solving systems of equations. So we need to set up an equation for each total amount that each of the teachers bought their tickets and souvenirs for. So Mr. G had 4 tickets, so I'm going to use T for tickets, plus 1 souvenir, so I'm going to write 1S, and S is souvenir, and his total was $21.50. Then I have Mrs. B bought 6 tickets, so 6T, plus 2 souvenirs is 2S, equals $33. Now I'm going to use elimination. I want my S's to cancel out. So they're both positive. I need to make one of them negative, and I'm going to change that 1 to be a -2. So I'm going to multiply the whole top equation by -2, and I get -8t minus 2s equals -$43. And I rewrite 6t plus 2s equals 33. I'm going to add straight down. A -8 plus 6t is a -2t. My s's cancel out, and a -43 plus 33 is a -10. Now when I divide by -2, I get t equals 5. And then I need to solve for s. So s, I'm going to use and substitute t back into it. So I'm going to write 4 times t, which is 5, plus 1s equals $21.50. 4 times 5 is 20, plus 1s equals $21.50. Subtract 20 from both sides, and I get s equals 150. And that's my answer. T equals 5, s equals 150. 13. Y equals 65.99x plus 20, where y is the total cost in dollars for x months of membership. What is the meaning of the y value when x equals 4? So we just have to substitute in. Y will be the total cost. Total cost for 4 months of membership. So if you were to substitute it in, you would get your final answer for what the cost will be for paying for 4 months of that membership. Number 14, what is the volume in terms of pi for a cylindrical container with a radius of 5.65 centimeters and a height of 15 centimeters? So we know our equation for a cylinder is V equals pi r squared h. I'm going to write a little key of my variables, V, R, and H. They're asking what is the volume, so I'm solving for the volume. The radius is 5.65 and the height is 15. So when I substitute in, I have V equals pi times 5.65 squared times 15. Now they want it in terms of pi. So when that is asking for in terms of pi, you do not multiply pi into the calculator with the numbers. You're just going to type in these numbers into your calculator, 5.65 squared times 15, and you get 478.8375, and you just write pi at the end, and do not forget your centimeters cubed. Volume is always talking about cubic units, okay? 15, describe the scatter plot shown to the right. So it's going up from left to right. This is linear. Sun is positive. And is there an outlier? Yes, it's right here. It's always one point that looks distant from the rest of the data. Number 16, which function of x has the greatest y-intercept? So here your y-intercept is 15. Here your y-intercept is -3. B, your y-intercept is here where the line crosses the y-axis. So B, your y-intercept is -2. And C, here your y-intercept is up at +2. So the greatest y value for the y-intercept is answer choice A, +15. 17, write an equation that is linear. So anything in the form of y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to write y equals 5x plus 3. Write an equation that does not represent a linear function. So therefore, you just need an equation that has an exponent attached to the variable. So y equals 3x squared plus 9. 18. One company charges $30 plus $4 per hour, and another company charges $5 per hour. When will they be the same? So I have my first company and my second company. They want to know when they will be the same, so I know I'm going to set them equal to each other. So my first company charges a fee of $30 plus $4 per hour, so that's 4x. And company 2 just charges $5 per hour. So I'm going to combine my x's, so I need to subtract 4x on both sides. And after that, I get 30 equals x. So they will cost the same when x equals 30 hours. Number 19, they want to know which interval of x is the function decreasing and linear. So here, we're talking about between what x intervals. So from -4 to -2 on my x, that function is increasing and linear. So that's not my answer. Now from -2 to 0. That is decreasing but non-linear. It's curving. Now the next part of that graph is increasing and non-linear because it's curved. So now from 2 to 4, it is decreasing and linear. So between x equals 2 and x equals 5, decreasing and linear. Now it's asking which interval of x is the function increasing and nonlinear. We saw that from when x equals 0 all the way up to where x equals 2, that is increasing and nonlinear. Number 20, what is the value of x in the diagram below? So we have a straight line right here. We know that angles that create a straight line are supplementary. Supplementary angles equal 180 degrees. So with that being said, we have this angle plus this angle plus this angle equals 180. We know that right here, this box means that this angle is 90 degrees. So we're going to set up an equation, x plus 50 plus 90 plus 3x equals 180 degrees. Now we need to combine our like terms. So we have an x and a 3x, and then we have a 50 and a 90. So x plus 3x is 4x, and 50 plus 90 is 140. That is equal to 180 degrees. We need to isolate the variable, so we subtract 140 from both sides, and we get 4x equals 40. Divide by 4 on both sides, x equals 10. So we have x equals 10, and now if we wanted to substitute back in to find the measure of this angle, you would just substitute 10 in for x and see that that angle is 30 degrees. And up here, 10 plus 50 is 60 degrees. So if they asked you for what are those angles after you solve for x, you would just substitute in what you solve for x and solve it. Number 21. The cost to rent a bike at a park includes an initial fee of $14 plus $9.75 per hour. Write an equation that models the relationship between the total cost y and the number of hours x that the bike is rented. So we know the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. Our slope is $9.75 per hour. That word per always reminds us that that's our slope because it's something that's being multiplied over and over again. The initial fee is just a one-time fee. That is $14. So our equation is y equals 9.75x plus 14. 22. The scatter plot below shows the average ticket price for a baseball game by year. The line shown models this relationship, and x equals 0 represents the year 1996. What does the value of the y-intercept represent? So here is the y-intercept. That's where it's crossing the y-axis. So we know that they said where 0 is, that's the year 96. So that is saying the y-intercept represents the average price in 1996. 23. Triangle ABC and DEF are similar triangles. So they're asking, find the measure of angle C and find the measure of angle E. We know that similar triangles have congruent angles. So A corresponds to D. They're in the same spot. They're both 35 degrees. Angle C corresponds to angle F. If angle F is 70 degrees, angle C is 70 degrees. Angle B corresponds to angle E. So if angle B is 75 degrees, angle E is 75 degrees. 24. Name a transformation sequence that would map LOST to L prime, O prime, S prime, T prime. So for this, they're taking the original. The original, remember, does not have the primes. They're asking what's the sequence? So there's two steps. The first step is it does flip over. So remember, we have D, R, E, T, R, O. Those are our four transformations. We have dilation, reflection, translation, rotation. Dilation is definitely not a part of this because the size does not change. Now, does this look like it was reflected and flipped over? Yes, we already said that. So I'm going to perform that reflection. So L is on the line of reflection. It reflected over this y-axis. So it's just going to remain there when you reflect it over. O, remember, to reflect, you just count the amount of jumps to that line of reflection and then count the same amount of lines past that. So that's your O. Count 2 jumps to the line, 2 jumps past the line. S is 1, 2, 3 jumps to the line, 1, 2, 3 past the line. That's S. T is 1 to the line, 1 past the line. So now I have this figure. So I'm going to write reflection over the y-axis. And then my step 2 is, did this translate or rotate to get to my image that I just drew, translate or rotate to get to the final image? It was translated. It just moved. It did not turn, which is a rotation. So you're saying, what direction did O move get to O prime? So you're saying it went up 1 and left 2. So it translates up 1 and then 2 left. What exponential expression is equal to 5 to the negative 7 times 5 to the 12? Remember, this is multiplication, so you add your exponents. So negative 7 plus 12 equals 5. So our answer in exponential form, remember you need a base with an exponent, is 5 to the 5th power. 26. It's not on here for some reason, but it says a cone has a radius of 2.7 inches and a height of 5.2 inches. The volume is what we are solving for. It's asking for what is the volume to the nearest tenth of a cubic inch of the cone. So this time we are going to multiply pi into our calculator to find the final answer. So the volume of a cone is V equals 1/3 pi r squared h. V equals, I'm going to substitute in my values. 1/3 pi r is 2.7 squared and h is 5.2. When I type that into my calculator, I get 40 inches cubed because it's asking for it rounded to the nearest tenth of a cubic inch. And then number 27. Okay, so 27. During an experiment, the temperature of a substance increased at a constant rate of 2 degrees Celsius per hour. Which graph represents this relationship? So we want to find one of these graphs that represents a slope of 2. So we're going to check the rise and the run of every single one of these graphs. So I'm going to connect 2 perfect points. I'm going to connect those points. My rise is 1. My run is 3. So my slope is 1/3. A is not my answer. C. I'm going to connect 2 perfect points. Connect the dots. I have my rise is 2. My run is 1. M equals 2/1. So that is my answer, choice C. Let's just check B and D to make sure. B, I'm going to use these 2 perfect points and connect them. My rise is 1. My run is 1. So my slope is 1/1, which is 1, not my answer. And D, I have 2 perfect points. I'm going to connect them. It's rise of 3, run of 1. My slope is rise over run. That is 3, not my answer. So answer choice C was the correct constant rate of 2 degrees Celsius per hour. 28, again, we're just using our laws of exponents. So which expression is equivalent to 6 squared times 6 squared divided by 6 to the 5th? So we need to do the division first. So when we have division, we have to divide divide means to subtract exponents. So we have 2 minus 5 equals -3. So we have 6 squared times 6 to the -3rd. Now we're going to add the exponents. And 2 plus -3 equals -1. So our answer is 6 to the -1st power. And remember, to make our exponents positive, you have to take the reciprocal. So you put that over 1. Every whole number has a denominator of 1. You flip the fraction, and the exponent becomes positive. And this is just 1/6 as our answer. Number 29 is a two-way table. A principal of a school has 484 students And he wants to know about how many of the students wear glasses. So we first need to complete the two-way table. We know that the total amount of students always is in the bottom corner. That is the total amount surveyed. So in order to find our other totals, for the girls, we're going to just add 36 plus 55 plus 144, and we get 235. Now, in order to find the total for the boys, we can do the total amount of students minus the total amount of girls, and we get 249 as our total amount for the guys. Now, in order to find how many boys sometimes wear glasses, we're going to add 161 plus 40, and we're going to get 201. We subtract that from the total amount of boys, which is 249, and so we get 48. So you're just adding or subtracting based on what you are given to find your values. So in order to find the total amount of people wearing glasses, you just add 40 plus 36 is 76. So you're finding the total for sometimes wear glasses. 48 plus 55 is 103. How many wear glasses? 161 plus 144 is 305. Now, they're asking what is the relative frequency of the amount of boys that sometimes wear glasses. So we need to set up a fraction. Of the amount of boys is out of the total amount of boys. So that total amount goes in our denominator. So now we're going to look at only the boys row. Out of those boys, how many sometimes wear glasses? So we're going to this column, and that's 48. So we're putting 48 divided by 249, and we get 0.1927. In order to change our decimal to a fraction, you move your decimal place to the right 2 times. So this is 19.27%. Again, for C, what is the relative frequency of all of the students? So that total goes in our denominator, and the total is 484 students out of all of them. How many in that school never wear glasses? So we're going to our total for the never wear glasses column, which is 305. And when we type that into our calculator, we get 0.6301. Move our decimal twice to the right, and we get 63.01% as our answer. Number 30. A human red blood cell has a diameter of 5.6 times 10 to the negative 7 meters. What expression represents the diameter in meters in standard notation? So we have a negative exponent. We know we need to move our decimal to the right 10 times. To the left 10 times. So we have 5.6. We're going to move it once, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All of these empty jumps you're going to fill in with zeros, and you could just rewrite your answer. 0.000000000056 is our answer in standard notation. Number 31. Name the sequence that transforms PQRST to P prime Q prime R prime S prime T prime. So you see that we have a dilation, reflection, translation, and rotation. The first thing we definitely know is not involved is a dilation, so we're going to cross that out. We see that it definitely rotated, it turns. So we see that the rotation is a 90-degree clockwise rotation. So I'm going to actually do that rotation. If you rotate this figure, it should end up here. Remember, you are turning your paper 90 degrees clockwise. From the origin, you count to your places, count to each point, then you turn your paper back and count from the origin in that direction and the amount each time. So now we have our image, and now we want to know how did this picture that we just drew get to the bottom? Did it reflect or did it translate? It was flipped over, so it had to reflect over the x-axis. So that was our sequence. It had to rotate 90 degrees clockwise and then reflect over the x-axis. Number 32. What is the solution to the equation? So we're just solving this equation. We want to get the variable alone, so we add 10 to both sides. So we have 3/4 x equals 16. Now we have 3/4 x. We're going to just multiply by the reciprocal. When you multiply by the reciprocal, the 4's cancel out and the 3's cancel out. So what you do to one side, you do to the other. You multiply the other side by 4/3, and you get x equals 21.3 with a line over it. That's our answer. Number 33, what is the initial fee and the cost per hour of the graph? So our slope and our y-intercept is what we need. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. They're at 150. And our slope, we're going to find two perfect points, connect the points, and find our rise over our run. Each jump counts as 30, so our rise is 60, and our run is 2. So our slope is 60 over 2, which is a slope of 30. 34. What points 5, 3, and x, 6 lie on the same line? If the slope of the line is 1, what is the value of x? So in order to find the value of x, we need to find first the y-intercept. Because if we want to solve for this, we know that 5, 3 is a point on this line. So let's find the equation of the line, and then we could solve for this missing x value. So in order to solve for the line, we're going to use our point slope formula. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. We have 5 as our x, y is our 3, and the slope of our line is 1. So we're going to leave y minus, substitute in 3 for y1, equals 1 for our slope, times x minus 5, which is our x1. We distribute, so we have y minus 3 equals x minus 5. We isolate y, add 3 to both sides, we get y equals x minus 2. So now we have our equation, and we know that this point lies on this line. So we could do two things here. We can just substitute in. We know that this point, again, is our x and our y. We're going to solve for y. So we're going to substitute x in for, 6 in for our y. Leave x, because that's what we're solving for. And minus 2 is our y-intercept for this line. In order to solve for x, you add 2 to both sides, and we solve that x equals 8. That is our answer. So since they lie on the same line, once you have found the equation of the line, you could have just substituted in your value of y to solve for x. 35. How many solutions, if any, does the equation have? So we just need to solve and see what we get. So we have to use the distributive property. So we have 4x minus 8 plus 6x, and 1/2 times 20 is 10x, 1/2 times negative 16 is negative 8. We have like terms on this side. We never want 3 terms on one side, so we're going to combine a 4x and a 6x is a 10x, minus 8 equals 10x minus 8. Right here, you have the same expression on both sides. You have 10x minus 8 equals 10x minus 8. So you could stop solving here and say there's infinitely many solutions. When you have the same thing on both sides, you're going to have infinitely many solutions. Just think about it. The lines are going to line up right on top of each other if they had a graph. So the graph is only going to look like there's one line when you graph them. And therefore, every single point on those lines is a solution to them. If you didn't see this from here, you could take it a step further. Combine your x's by subtracting 10x on both sides, and you get negative 8 equals negative 8. And again, same number on both sides, you're going to have infinitely many solutions. 36. Which graph represents a person who types more than 50 minutes per hour? So they want a slope that is greater than 50 words per minute. So we're going to just find the rise over our run for each of our graphs. I'm going to connect 2 perfect points. Here, each jump is 50, so I have a rise of 200 and a run of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 200 divided by 5 equals 40. So that is less than 50, so that's not our answer. Here I'm going to connect these two perfect points. I have a rise of 150 and a run of 3. So 150 divided by 3 equals 50. That's not my answer because it equals 50. I want to know when I have more than 50 words per hour. Now let's check B and D. Going to connect my points. My rise is 100. My run is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 100 divided by 4 equals 25. That's less than 50. And here we're going to connect our perfect points. My rise is 100. My run is 1. So 100 over 1 equals 100. Answer choice D. Number 37, which expression is not equivalent to 1 over 16? So let's just see. We're going to just use laws of exponents and go through each answer choice and do process of elimination. When you have multiplication, you're adding your exponents. So negative 9 plus 7 is 4 to the negative 2. And when you solve that, this becomes 1 over 4 squared, which equals 1 over 16. Because if you want to get it to become a positive, you take the reciprocal. And 1 over 4 squared is 1 over 16. And that is equivalent. They want something that's not equivalent. B, 4 to the 9th times 4 to the negative 7 is 4 squared. 4 squared is just a positive 16. That is not equivalent. 16 is not the same as 1 over 16. Let's check answer choice C. 4 to the 10th times 4 to the negative 12 is 4 to the negative 2. As we saw before, that equals 1 over 16. That is not our answer. And 4 to the 5th times 4 to the negative 7, you add 5 plus negative 7 is 4 to the negative 2, which is 1 over 16, which is equivalent also. So the only one not equivalent is answer choice B. And lastly, we have number 38. The price of a cheese pizza with no toppings is based on the area of the pizza. If P represents the price of the pizza in dollars and A represents the area of the pizza in square inches, which function represents the lowest price per square inch? So they want to know the lowest price per square inch. That is the slope you're solving for. So you're given 4 different representations on how to find the slope. So you just solve for the slope, and whatever one has the smallest slope is your answer. So we have our perfect points, and we have a graph, so we're going to use rise over run. Our rise is 1. Our run is 10. Each box counts by 5, so always be careful with looking at your intervals. So M equals rise over run, which equals 1 over 10, which is 0.10. So it's 10 cents per square inch. Now let's check answer choice B. Our slope is what is attached to the variable, so 0.16. So far, A is smaller than that, so we are going to cross out B. C, we have a table. In order to find the slope of a table, remember, M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to use 50 as my x1, 4 as my y1. My x2 is 100, my y1 is 8. So I have 8 minus 4 divided by 100 minus 50 equals 40 over 50, which equals 0.08 per square inch. So 8 cents per square inch. And then answer choice D, a cheese pizza with no toppings costs 13 cents per square inch. So my slope is 13 cents, which is not smallest. The smallest price per square inch is answer choice C, 8 cents per slice. So C is my answer. And that is the end of this review.